Good morning. Thank you for this invitation to give you an overview of the recent activities of the MediaEval Multimedia Benchmarking Initiative, which is coordinated by Martha Larson and myself. So to give you an overview of this morning's presentation, I'll briefly outline what is MediaEval for those of you who are not already familiar, talk about our task selection process for our activities, and tell you what we've been doing in MediaEval 2012. So what is MediaEval? So it's a multimedia benchmarking initiative, as I guess is already obvious. We aim to evaluate new algorithms for multimedia access and retrieval. And in particular, our tasks aim to emphasize the multi in multimedia. So we want to combine aspects of speech and audio, visual content, tags and users, and context of content and users. And in doing this, we want to innovate new tasks and techniques focusing on human and social aspects of multimedia content. And more information about the initiative in general and particular tasks can be found on the website. What's the background? Where does MediaEval come from? So it originates from 2 years of activities in the old CLE workshop series in 2008 and 2009 in the track called Video CLE, where we were looking at cross-lingual applications or areas of video content. It was established as an independent benchmarking initiative in 2010 to give us more freedom to move away from aspects of multilinguality and look at independent and tasks. In 2010 and 2011 it was supported by the Media Network of Excellence. In 2012 we don't have any direct support, and it's really supported by the participants through a number of their supported projects and their companies. How do we decide what we're going to do? Well, we adopt a community-based selection process. So proposed tasks are included on a pre-selection questionnaire. In order to be included on the questionnaire, a proposed task must have a use scenario, must pose some interesting research questions. The proposers must have identified an available and accessible data set, typically some Creative Commons content. So we don't want to get involved in having to buy significant content or have to have extended negotiation for access to data. We must have some form of realistic ground truthing process. For this we're making quite extensive use of crowdsourcing, and each proposed task must have champions who don't just propose the task, but they're actually willing to be the coordinators of the task. And in order to be selected, the coordinators or the proposers must be able to identify a minimum of 5 registered participants who will actually submit on the task. So we have plenty more than 5, but we must have a minimum of 5. How many people are involved? Well, we've seen pretty much strong growth over the years, particularly last year. I can't give you the figures for 2012 at the moment because people have just finished submitting and we're collating the figures. So broadly speaking, I think participation in 2012 is around about the same as 2011, possibly a little bit more. So what tasks are we running this year? Well, we have 6 main tasks, and we also have 3 smaller tasks which we refer to as brave new tasks. So these were interesting tasks, but they didn't make the criteria of having 5 minimum people signed up to do them. So you may recognize the names of some of these. So the placing task and social event detection are the same as last year as a couple of others. A new main task is visual privacy, which I'll tell you about, and some of the brave new tasks are all in some senses new. So what I'm going to do now is just briefly run through them. So the placing task, the goal here is to assign geo-coordinates to, as happens, Flickr videos or videos from other source using metadata, visual content, audio content, social information. This year there were 2 tasks, so a general placing task where we had to derive the location of a given video potentially from anywhere in the world, and new for this year, a city-based task where we had to derive very highly accurate and precise locations for a given video within a known city. So participants know where the city is or what the city is, have to say exactly where it is, rather than just saying it's in Paris. We have to know exactly where, we know it's in Paris, and say exactly where it is. So results are still being worked out, so I don't know how successful people have been yet. Social event detection, so definition here is to discover events and detect media items that are related to a specific social event or event class of interest. So this task is pretty much identical to what we ran last year. People found it very challenging last year, and so we're very interested to run it again. Going forward to 2013, we have a number of proposals of new data sets and alternatives, so it's certainly a task that's gathering interest, and we certainly see this going forward. spoken web search. So the idea here is to search for audio content within audio content using audio content. So the scenario here is spoken recordings with a spoken input and spoken playback, and scenarios being settings, for example, regions of India or Africa with low literacy users who want to access audio content. So we're using a data set of four different Indian languages, so this is the same as last year, but introduced and new this year is African data, again for 4 South African languages. So we have a large set of coordinators here, led by Florian Metz from CMU, but involving people from India, other countries in Europe, and from South Africa as well. The tagging task, this is another familiar task that we've been running for a couple of years. So we want to assign genre tags to video, so we're using a collection of Creative Commons Internet video. The change here is that we're using a slightly different set of genre tags this year, but the problem's not solved, and we carried on with the task again this year. Just so something I didn't mention before, the logos we're seeing down here are the organizations associated with the particular tasks. So they staff from these projects have been involved in coordinating the tasks. The affect task, so the idea here is to look for violent scenes in video. So the content, we're looking across a set of 15 Hollywood movies. The task is pretty much the same as last year. It again showed itself to be very hard. The scenario here is that we want to automatically be able to detect material that perhaps you prefer your children not to see involving violence in videos. So automatically detecting is within videos and saying, perhaps this isn't a video that you want to be showing your kids. Visual privacy is our new task, our new main task. And the idea here is to propose methods whereby human faces occurring in digital imagery can be obscured so as to render them unrecognizable. So there's various applications you'll have seen, content that maybe we want to be able to show to people, but some of the individuals involved for personal or legal reasons we don't want to be able to identify. So the data set we're using here is 100 high-resolution videos, roughly 1.5 minutes in length, each containing at least one person walking in front of the camera. They can also wear specific personal items, accessories which can potentially reveal their identity. For this year, the list of such items considered in the task is just reduced to 3 scarves, hats and glasses. People may be at a distance from the camera or near the camera, making their faces vary considerably in pixel size and quality, and the ambient lighting conditions the videos vary. So those of you who've done any video processing, this is actually quite a challenging, or more than quite a challenging, it's a very challenging task, but very interesting for us as well. So we'll see how the results turn out. I don't have them yet. So looking now at our 3 new tasks, our brave new tasks. So user account matching, so just explain the background of this. So identification of user accounts across different social services such as Flickr and Tumblr and YouTube. So many people are active on multiple platforms, creating photo albums, writing blog posts, commenting and bookmarking, and automatically identifying users' contributions across platforms could, for example, yield enhanced user profiles, which could be beneficial for a range of, for example, personalized applications such as recommenders, but also has applications in forensics, security and privacy research. For this task, participants are provided with the contents of a user's account on service A, for example Flickr, and asked to identify which account from a pool of given accounts on the service B, for example YouTube, belongs to the same user. Again, we don't have the results yet, so we'll have to see how people do and how this task goes forward. Search and hyperlinking. So this builds on 2 previous tasks, so rich speech search and also one of the earlier video clay tasks on linking. And we have 2 subtasks here. One is a video search or searching for video segments based on short natural language queries, and then a linking task where we take video segments and we want to link to other related video segments in the collection. So they could be very similar or they could be explanatory in nature, but broadly here is a video. I want to know more about this subject from in some aspect, and I want to automatically create a link. So we're using Creative Commons video in multiple languages, although most of the content is actually in English. Again, don't have the results yet. We'll see how people get on very soon. Music Clay. So some of the activities of Music Clay from Clay are actually have been taken into MediaEval this year. The task here is to develop novel and creative multimodal approaches to learning relations between music items and semantic labels. So this really is very multimodal. So we have metadata to identify songs and artists, content descriptor features derived from audio analysis, collaborative tags derived from users, web pages related to artists and performers of the songs, in up to 6 languages, and then for the training set, ground truth tags made by experts using a controlled dictionary of about 100 distinct tags, and then a test set where we have all the same data except for the ground truth tags, and we have to decide or assign the semantic labels. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. So moving on from the tasks, we come together for a workshop. Again, for the 3rd year running, it's going to be in Santa Croce in Fossabanda, which is a medieval convent in Pisa. It's in a couple of weeks' time. So last year, play took place right after our workshop, and I was able to tell you everything that happened. This year, it's right before the workshop, and we don't have the results. It's actually this year going to be an unofficial satellite of the European Computer Vision Conference, which is going to be held in Florence in the week after our workshop. So you may recall that we tend to move the workshop around and co-locate it with related events. So last year we co-located with the Interspeech Conference in Florence, and the year before ACM Multimedia, which is also in Florence. Next year, looking ahead, we're probably taking the workshop to Barcelona to co-locate with ACM Multimedia again. Some other recent activities this year. One of the things we like to do, or we're looking to do, is to sponsor sessions at related conferences. So we had a special session at CBMI this year on automatic indexing of Internet multimedia, and we're co-sponsoring a workshop actually at ECCV, as well as our own workshop on information fusion in computer vision for concept recognition. So focusing in this particular workshop really on the visual work. We also co-proposed to ISCA, the International Speech Communication Association, a new special interest group in speech and language and multimedia. So ISCA really focuses on speech analysis. We really feel there's a bit of a gap between speech research and multimedia research and visual research. And so the idea of the special interest group is to try to encourage these communities to work more together. And the proposal has been formally accepted just a couple of weeks ago. Looking ahead to next year, people at the workshop in a couple of weeks' time can make informal proposals for tasks for next year. We'll have a formal call for task proposals later in the year. Our selection questionnaire will be published early in 2013, so encourage everybody to complete the questionnaire. We'll publicise as widely as possible. Even if you're not really able to participate yourself, we're really interested to know what people think of the proposed tasks that appear for next year, and what sorts of research questions we should be looking at. Based on the input from the questionnaire, we'll choose the tasks and make a formal call for participation in the spring, and then again the activities will take place in the summer next year, leading to our probable workshop in Barcelona. And thank you very much for your attention. Sorry I can't take questions, but you can find more information about our activities on the website.